Here's something that has been kind of buried in the back of my mind, and I've been waiting to pull this out on everyone for this show. We raved about the Montreal Canadiens through the first month of the season up until about Claude Julien got fired. You know what his longest winning streak was? 3 wins. 3 consecutive wins. There were a lot of instances where the teams were like, 4 wins in 5 games, whatever. But the longest win streak that Claude Julien went on was 3 wins. Dominique Ducharme, it looked as if, at the start, hey, maybe the team was going to be good around him, but they've kind of been a little just meh over the last few weeks under him. You know what his longest winning streak has been so far? 3 wins. 3 wins. Kind of weird, right? Do you think it was a mistake for the Montreal Canadiens to have fired Claude Julien, considering that Dominique Ducharme hasn't necessarily put the team over the top?
Hindsight is 2020, so it's a lot easier to kind of look at the situation right now and say they shouldn't have. But also, I think the question is, did they have the right person in line to take over from Claude Julien? And I'm not exactly sure if Dominique Ducharme was the right guy. When he was promoted to the interim head coach, there was a lot of talk about how he's a new age coach. He knows how to communicate with the players better, especially the younger ones. But it really hasn't been able to pay off the way that they were hoping for. Could Joël Bouchard have been a better fit to take over this team and maybe have led them to a different direction? That's another question to be asked right now. I think it's just that they passed the baton, maybe not to the person who was best fit to take over this team at that point.
And at 3 games over 500, I mean, with this coaching change, hey, it's all about wins and losses. Is it Dominique Ducharme's new system that has not been implemented right yet? What exactly is the problem? When you do make a coaching change, yes, there's a little bit of a gamble. The pressure does go back onto the players, yes. But the bottom line is, for a coach, it's finding ways to tune your team up to find ways to win, and that's not happening. It was a little premature in letting Claude go. Hindsight is always easy to second guess once everything's said and done. But the bottom line is wins and losses. It's not happening in great numbers for whatever reason. If you want to look at systems, you want to look at personnel, but the head coach is the one that has to be held accountable. And if it's not happening and not getting done, we know how it all works, that the heat is passed along to the head coach.
Well, when Marc Bergevin hired Dominique Ducharme 3 years ago, his title was assistant coach. His real title was future head coach of the Canadiens. Because when he hired him to be the next coach of the Canadiens. The coach has to be bilingual. Jeff Molson's made that clear. And at the time, Marc Bergevin thought that Dominique Ducharme was the best qualified bilingual coach out there, and he wanted to nab him while he was still available. If you go back to when Michel Therrien was fired, it was timing. Claude Julien got fired from the Bruins. Marc Bergevin said, there's the best available bilingual coach. He's not going to probably stay there long. I better grab him. And that's why he made the decision to get Claude then and to fire Michel Therrien. I wonder, though, last season, if it had been a full season, if COVID hadn't shut things down, the Canadiens were going to miss the playoffs. And I wonder if Marc Bergevin had been planning to fire Claude Julien at the end of last season, if that happened, and bring in Dominique Ducharme to start this season. Obviously, things changed after that. The Canadiens got into the postseason. Claude had his health issues in the bubble. The team played pretty well. So I think the timing was not right for Marc Bergevin to fire Claude Julien if he wanted to after last season. But I think in the back of his mind, he was still thinking, I maybe need to make a coaching change here. He should have done it, in my opinion, the week when they had the week off, bye-week schedule, instead of waiting an extra week, which meant Ducharme didn't even get a full practice with the team. I'll never understand why, if it was in the back of his mind that he was going to fire Claude Julien at some point, that he didn't do it then. But was the timing right? I'm sure Marc Bergevin spoke with the leaders of the team to get a vibe of what was going on, and if they had tuned out Claude, then it was time for him to go. But, as I've always said, Claude Julien, I believe he's a good coach. I believe he's a fantastic human being, a good man. And for him, if there's a bright spot of this, apart from the fact he has one more year at $5 million on his contract, is that this shows that what happened to the Canadiens wasn't the fault of the coaches. The power play got a little bit of a boost after he was fired. Now it's as bad as it ever was. As Red Fisher, the legendary Red Fisher, used to say, show me the players. This is all on the players right now. They haven't played well enough, and it doesn't seem to matter who's behind the bench. And so for Claude Julien, I guess you can't blame Claude Julien anymore for what happened with this team this season.
I say yes because I'm in agreement, obviously, with your point, Stu, and that's something I wanted to raise, and I'm very glad that you brought that up. Dominique Ducharme did not have the benefit of having that week off to kind of think about his strategy, implement some ideas for his team. He pretty much just had to figure it all out on the way. It's all been kind of on the fly, really. Even for Alex Burrows, the guy in charge of the power play right now, you guys got to remember that first morning skate he had, where he pretty much had everyone doing power play drills, right? It's been a lot of on-the-fly stuff for this coaching staff over the last few weeks, really. And as the schedule has intensified over the last few weeks as well, that has not helped in terms of conditioning for the players and getting them rest. But I'm sure it also hasn't helped with Dominique Ducharme's time to be able to adjust his game plan and figure out what adjustments can be made too. So not to kind of give Dominique Ducharme an out here, but I do wonder how much that plays into his coaching abilities right now.
Well, never mind even his coaching abilities or not getting a practice, just letting it soak in the fact that you're now head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. This guy's life changed overnight. He went from a guy who could probably walk down the street in Montreal and 95% of people wouldn't know who he was to all of a sudden you're arguably the most public figure in this province. And just to let all that soak in, what happened, and then they went on the road, and like his life, like everything just was a scramble at that point. So he never even got a chance to really adjust to the fact that, wow, I'm head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, and my life will never be the same again. He just got thrown in there, and then everything happened so fast, as Rick would know as a former coach. In the NHL, everything happens so quickly, and he was never really put into a good position to succeed right from the start.
Yeah, and in that coach's room, and things are not going well, I'm telling you, there's a lot of pressure and discussions that are going on, and searching for answers. And I mean, you as a coaching staff, you're grabbing at anything and everything that you think might be able to allow your players to perform better than what they're performing. But one thing will never change, and I don't care who the coach is, if you have the horses, you have the personnel, and they want it, they can make a coach look really good. And I'm not taking anything away from Dominique Ducharme other than speaking about the win-losses and the so-called new system that's being brought in. The results have not been as good as probably what we're hoped for. But anyways, we're going to see what the last stretch brings and into the playoffs. And then I'm sure there's going to be some serious conversations on what do we do next to allow us to become a better hockey team. And I don't think firing coaches is the best recipe.
And
okay, quick. Oh, go ahead.
No,
sorry, go ahead.
Things can change very quickly. If the Habs go out and surprise everyone in the playoffs, well, then the conversation around Dominique Ducharme will completely change.
That is very, very true. I'll just want to do a quick yes or no here. If the Canadiens go out in the first round, because it looks as if they're going to make the playoffs, if they go out in the first round, yes or no, do you keep Dominique Ducharme as the head coach?
It's going to depend on if they keep Marc Bergevin as a GM. If they keep Marc Bergevin as a GM, I think
that's fair.
He stays as a coach.
Got to come from the GM that's going to do the hiring of the coach, and that'll never change.
I think they're both going to be here next year.
Yep, that's okay. All right, we'll have to see how that goes. Do you think keeping Dominique Ducharme as head coach for next year is the right idea? Do you think Claude Julien should still be head coach of the Montreal Canadiens? Let us know in the comments section below, and visit hockeyinsideout.com to check out our full episode.